Hey guys, Bobby Armijo here, and I have a special guest with me today, founder of Alliance Jiu-Jitsu, Mr. Fabio Gurgel. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today, so make sure you watch the whole video. We're going to be giving out a ton of tips and tricks to how to run your academies better, but also just go more into the history of Alliance and just a lot of really cool things to show you guys. So stay tuned and don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, that was my next question is with all that being one of the biggest problems of why academies fail, why is Alliance the solution? And obviously it's the methodology.
Methodology for sure.
And yeah, I agree with Fabio that the methodology was critical. For our gyms in San Diego, again, thank God Faria found Jacare at the I don't know what tournament it was, but I remember him coming back to me when I was only a blue belt, not his partner yet, and he's like, "We're going to change to Alliance." I said, "Cool. I don't know who that is. Sounds good to me." You know, um, and this is probably 2000, I would say 17, 2017, roughly. And at the time, I think we had 200 students, maybe. He and I partnered up, I think that same year, and grew the gym to what it is today, which is about 600 students. And I attribute that to, of course, our staff and many other reasons, but I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the methodology. And specifically, it's the curriculum, right? Like for those that look at methodology in a different way, I like to talk about the curriculum itself, is that for one, there's a curriculum in place. But number two is that it makes it easy for the instructors because of the learning center that we have. If we have the weekly schedule already set for the instructors and they know to teach class 20 or teach class 7 of the intermediate, it's all in the learning center online for them to go look. And so what I was used to when I first started was I just showed up to jiu-jitsu and whatever the instructor felt like teaching that day was what we learned.
Hmm.
So, you find that people like to teach what they are good at. And so that's why you see a lot of schools, if, for example, Johnny's um, Johnny's Jiu-Jitsu over, in Long Beach, that guy's really good at the lasso guard. So all his students are going to know the lasso guard,
Yeah.
right?
Like a
So,
robot,
yeah,
right?
it's like a
They do the
robot.
same, yeah.
So I think from that perspective, it ties into why we have 15 world titles as a team. It's undeniable that Fabio is probably the greatest coach of all time, producing the most world champions that I could think of. And it's because, he taught things to be well-rounded, make connections, and also to have a system. And it sounds cliche to say, but the system and the methodology, the curriculum is really what makes us different.
Just to your point, I think when you talk about the methodology,
Mhm.
and of course, we design the curriculum so people can follow it, so the instructors know what they need to teach. But I think what's behind that is start looking from a different perspective.
Mhm.
Start looking from the point of view of the student.
Right.
What is good for my students to learn? What they can really comprehend? Because if you teach something that, as I explained before, if you teach something that there is no connection with something that your students know, there is no chance for him to absorb that content,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Because it's too far away. It's like the nuclear mathematics class that
Yes. Right.
we cannot understand a thing. So I think the importance of having a structure where you look for your student's point of view changes everything,
Mhm.
right? Change the way you treat your student, change the way that the staff treat the student.
Mhm.
When I say that student should be a client, not a disciple, because we don't want to impose anything on your students. We are there to serve,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the mentality that really needs to change in jiu-jitsu people.
Mhm.
You know, the black belts tend to be like, oh, I am the black belt. You guys gonna be my serfs.
Right.
You're gonna do
My
whatever
subject.
I say.
Mhm.
And I'm totally against this.
100%. Yeah.
I am, 7-degree red and black belt. I'm here for you. How can I help you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the common things I see across all jiu-jitsu gyms, in particular, is that servant leader that you're talking about. Is I'm here to serve the client. Those are the gyms that you see that are that top 1%. You
Of
know, you
course.
can look to any academy, and you know we all have those friends in the business who are not the most friendly. It's
Hmm.
about them, you know, as the academy owner or as the academy instructor or as the black belt, and no one wants to show their numbers for their business, but I can almost bet, you know, that it's pretty easy to see the following, right?
Yeah.
Like my professor and Johnny Faria is one of the most charismatic, outgoing. I shouldn't even say outgoing. Servant leaders, you know, and it shows. And that's why, you know, the vibe everyone calls our gym, the vibe is being a servant leader, you know, and the vibe is created by, to your point, looking at it from your client's perspective, not yours, which is a skill. At the end of the day, that's a skill, right?
But if you don't have that skill, you can follow the system that already taking care of this, right? So
Right.
the curriculum is something that if you just do the curriculum, you're gonna do better because
Yes.
you are already looking from the student's point of view,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
You are following the system. And of course, it's very hard to rely on people and what the ideas they have because I'm not saying that our idea is the best idea. I'm just saying that that's idea that's already proved that works.
Right.
You know, we are totally open to change and adapt and evolve the curriculum as we already did many times. You know, I just record the new intermediate program because we understood that that was something that was not correct. We go there and fix it.
Hmm.
But what's more important than what you're gonna show and how you're gonna show is if we show that in the right time,
Hmm.
you know, because
Right.
that's what the only thing that matters for your student.
Hmm.
I'm able to learn that technique that you're showing me. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time,
Hmm.
you know. So yeah, the methodology is definitely the most important thing. And again, why people sometimes is resistance to the methodology because it's hard.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's hard to implement. You have to go back to the lab and study
Hmm.
because maybe that techniques that you don't use much, you know, but that's the fundamental of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And if you don't really understand the technique, you're not able to teach. So to your point, you go back to what you know effectively and say, this technique, let's say a sweep from the half guard that I know well, I'm sure that I can teach.
Hmm.
If some students ask me any questions, I will know how to
All the
answer
answers. Hmm.
because I know all these connections from that situation that I do well.
Hmm.
But again, it's not what you should teach to that students at that phase.
Hmm.
So if you need to to show them, let's say, elbow escape from the mount, there's a lot of details on that technique.
Hmm.
And if you don't know how to explain, you won't convince your student that technique is effective.
Right. Mm.
So you need to study to be a better instructor. And I think if you get this in mind, if you keep that in mind, uh, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in general, right?
Yeah.
You need to be always searching for knowledge. And I do study jiu-jitsu every day, you know. I'm always thinking, how can I show this technique better, you know?
Hmm.
Yesterday we were on the mats with Lucas Lepi, and I was, like shocked in how much knowledge he has, and
One of the best. Yeah.
and one of the best for sure. I was there learning from him,
Hmm.
and that's something that we need to keep doing.
To embrace.
To
Yeah.
embrace, of course.
Yeah. I think I don't teach much, but when I do, and I look at the methodology and I log into the learning center and I review the techniques, I take notes as I'm watching to make sure that I understand the technique, especially if it's something I'm not comfortable with, you
Yep.
know. And what I find is that it just, one, you're prepared, right? And it forces the instructor. I think that's our object or your objective and our objective now together is we want to make sure the instructors are prepared. They are actually taking what they do very seriously because they should be wanting to put on an amazing class for that group of students that day
Yeah.
or that private lesson, right? So I think it makes us become better instructors, servant leaders, and just sharpening our skills.
Let's put a test, okay?
Mm.
100 instructors. Who's the best? Single class, same class for everybody. how can you teach that class better than the others? You know, so it's not about the technique you're gonna choose. It's how you communicate with your students.
Right.
It's how you explain the technique. It's how long you take to explain the technique.
Right.
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 That's the other thing
It's a
that
whole nother, yeah, it's a whole nother
right?
podcast. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
guys do the podcast to explain a technique in 1 hour class, and the students were there sitting and freezing already, right? To
Yeah.
before they start doing the technique. So there's a lot of things that you need to take care in order to build a good class. You know, so the techniques are just a part of it.
Right.
Our learning center now has over 500 videos of techniques and classes and insights and tips and all the things, right? And we have 900 instructors connected using the platform, right? And we are bringing more people and, putting more content there because we really believe that that's what people need to learn. How can I teach better? How can I serve my students better?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So again, it changed our schools. But let's transition and segue a bit into now what we're doing together. People don't really know like how we even got started as partners, right? So I thought it'd be fun if you could share your perspective.
It was good to keep you under the radar because people would jump on you,
Yeah. Oh,
try to steal you from Alliance.
Yeah, I'm already
We keep that as our secret weapon for quite some time.
I'm experiencing that now. Yeah.